I'm making a video today because I want to talk about the topic of fear and conviction. I'm somebody who feels a lot of conviction. Sometimes it tears me up inside. It's very frustrating to have a lot of conviction. There's a reason that a lot of people in the world don't have any conviction about anything. And if they do have conviction, it tends to be about the things that are the most easy to go along with. People have conviction toward the majority opinion, toward the powerful, toward that which is convenient and expedient. And there aren't enough people in the world who have conviction about their inner conscience and their individual perspective. And those who are filled with conviction about their own way of seeing things, oftentimes these people end up being narcissists, so it doesn't always end up being a force for good in the world. Those of us who are upset at the state of the world right now, a lot of us actually have a thing or two to learn from narcissists. Because those people have a monopoly on conviction and self-confidence and the capacity to fight for their interests. We need more people who are willing to fight for their interests, but who are not narcissistic and are not led by the herd. And that's why I decided to start being more honest and being more aligned with my conviction. It's a much needed quality in the world, and it's a much needed quality in a person's life. It's actually really miserable to live out of alignment with one's principles. And it's hard to be honest and to stand up for what you believe. But it's also very difficult, ultimately much more difficult in the long run, to not stand up for what you believe, generally speaking. So the reason this is on my mind right now is because I've been thinking a lot about the political situation in the United States. I've been dismayed, disillusioned, saddened, frightened by the things I've been seeing occurring in this country right now. And I've felt a sense of fear. I felt a sense of there's nothing I can even do, so why even do anything? Why even speak out if I just make myself more of a target? But I realized something, and that's the fact that deep down, I have a very particular type of personality. And the personality that I have is that I tend to stand up for things that I believe. It's just who I am. At many stages in my life, whenever I had a dilemma of do I speak out for what I believe, or do I just shut up? Oftentimes I made the decision to speak out, even though I knew that there would be potential negative consequences, and it wasn't always wise to do that. Sometimes I ended up arguing with fools ad nauseum, people who would never change their minds, and I just made myself a target. But I don't know if I could have had it any other way. I don't know if I had it in me to lie about my convictions, to appease narcissists and fools. And I think that's the type of person that I am. I can't shut up. And maybe that's a good thing. I don't know. But whether it's good or bad, I just know what I feel. And I know that I'm not the type of person to take things lying down. So I wanted to talk about the political situation in the United States. It's very infuriating to see what's happening. And there's this desire in me to give it all I have, to speak the truth, to call out injustice. There's always been this drive in me to call out injustice and to stand for what I believe. But then there's this fear, this opposing force that sort of challenges that. And there's this temptation to just fade into the background, shut up, live my life, and not participate in the conversation in any way. And you know what? That's a totally valid way of being, actually. It's totally valid to just check out. And I consider doing that very strongly. I actually made a pretty firm decision to do that recently. And then I noticed that it didn't make me feel any less afraid. It didn't make me feel any safer. It didn't make me feel more secure. It didn't make me any less angry. It actually just made me feel a little bit more powerless. And I decided, well, if it doesn't do anything, if it doesn't make me feel any better, if it doesn't make me feel safe, because I mean, the entire reason that I made the decision to check out of politics is because it made me feel safe. Because we're under the thumb of a potentially impending authoritarian regime right now in the United States. And there's this temptation among many people, including myself, to just say, well, when I do this, I'm actually just checking. It's very bright out here, so I'm just, also my phone screen's cracked, so I'm just checking to see that I'm still recording. There's this temptation that we have to just shut up and just don't make yourself a target. Just stand still and the T-Rex won't see you. But recently I came across a news article that mentioned the fact that there was an immigrant recently who had his own, he was a Lebanese guy. I don't think he was here illegally. Not sure he was a citizen though, but he was here presumably legally. Might have to double check on that. But he opened a restaurant called Trump Burgers. And so you would think, well, he's appeasing the regime. He's a Trump guy. He's safe, right? Nope. He got arrested. He got taken in by ICE or the DHS. And it just goes to show, you know, you think that appeasement is the safe option. Sometimes it's not. And I think that determines whether or not appeasement is the right way to go. That's one factor involved, is like, does this actually make you safer? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe some of us are screwed either way, whether we speak out or not. So maybe we have nothing to lose but our chains. Maybe it's time to just start speaking out more. I know for myself personally, this could change. It could change any moment, any day. But today, right now, what I feel is that I don't want to take it lying down. I don't want to shut up. I'm filled with conviction. I'm filled with fight. And God damn it, I'm tired of taking it lying down. I'm tired of allowing narcissists to rule me and us. I grew up as a child with a narcissistic father. Very similar to Donald Trump in a lot of ways, actually. So I know what it's like. That's one reason I feel so much conviction. And I was very entrenched in the evangelical movement as a kid. And I deconstructed my faith. And I saw a lot of injustice and hypocrisy in the church. A lot of anti-intellectualism. And a lot of hatred. So I feel very strongly about this issue. I feel very strongly about the unholy alliance between the evangelical movement and this current impending regime. And I think it's a cult. A lot of people say that, and I agree, it's a cult. And cults very often form around narcissistic strongmen. It's a phenomenon. And I saw that with my own family growing up. I was the lone dissident. I was the black sheep, and I was the only person who would actually directly call out the cult leader. And when I say cult, I don't mean that. I wouldn't even say that I'm being hyperbolic. My family was so tightly controlled. Everything, behavior, emotion, everything was controlled by this one guy, our dad. He was the patriarch. What he said went. There was no argument. There was no disagreement, even on very small things. And I'll make another video in the future documenting the details of that experience. But let it be known that I grew up in a cult, so I know how cults work. And even having grown up in the cult, I'm still, in a way, to some degree, shocked by the pure cult-like mentality of the current Trump movement. But I'm not completely surprised. A lot of people are just like completely, like they're just absolutely gobsmacked. I'm not. Like, I actually have seen this before. I know how it functions, especially having grown up in a hyper-religious household. It's very obvious how this stuff works. There's no evidence or, no amount of injustice or hypocrisy that can falsify a cult leader's authority. It's all based on feelings and vibes, and it's all based on doing apologetics. It's all based on justifying the unjustifiable, both intellectually and morally. And what I see occurring right now in the United States is the natural ramifications of this extremely anti-intellectual, hyper-religious movement in our culture that I was so entrenched in. And I see it as not my responsibility. I reject the notion of responsibility for these things, but I see it as my privilege to speak out. If there's anybody who should speak out, it's me. And I don't come from privilege. I don't have a lot of support the way a lot of people do. I'm actually just a nobody coming from nothing. I grew up in a fucked situation. I'm deeply troubled in a lot of ways. And I'm a damaged individual with no power, except for the power I'm displaying right now. And I would rather wield this power with all my might, with everything I have, than to give up the fight and lay down and take it. And I'm not throwing shade on those who choose to fade into the background. Some people have children, some people have a lot to lose. I don't. I don't have a lot to lose by standing up for what I believe. I think I have a lot to lose by missing out on life, by allowing myself to be domesticated. I think that is the biggest danger to me, because I've realized that I don't want to live a life of servitude, of domestication, of living a lie. I'm done living that way. I'm willing to put my neck out for what I believe. I think it's who I am. And making this video right now, I feel more full of life, more truthful, more honest. More full of vigor than I have felt in a long time. I've made a lot of videos recently. I've been just vlogging to myself, sort of, talking about my past and my feelings and yada yada. And during none of those videos did I feel the sense of conviction that I feel right now. I don't know how to explain it, but there's this, I had to speak out about this. There was this need, this deep need growing inside me that was calling for my attention, begging to be expressed. And until this was expressed, nothing else felt right. I could talk and talk to the camera, and something felt dead inside me. Something was not right. And I think it was this. I needed to get this off my chest. I need to be honest. And I need to express this disdain and this discontent with the state of the world. And I think it's good to focus on oneself. I see a lot of value in that. But as of recently, I felt a calling to start focusing on the circumstances of the external world, applying my own experience and my own knowledge, what little I have, to critiquing this culture and this government and this world. I feel like without that, I don't really have the means by which to speak truth to power. I don't have a way to reflect on myself without bringing this into it, because this is what's on my mind right now. So, the uncertainty has vanished. The trepidation has evaporated. And I feel alive because I'm speaking what I feel. This weight has lifted. The chains have come off my tongue, whereas previously I was tongue-tied, unable to speak, stuttering, bumbling, aimless. I feel a sense of direction. So I'm gonna keep following my heart and my conviction. And I'm not gonna let fear rule me anymore. That's a big mistake that a lot of people make. They're afraid. And they let that rule them. And I can't. I've tried that. I tried that strategy my whole life. And it didn't work. I was still a target. I tried playing it safe many times in my life. It didn't work. It just made people think that I was an easy target, that they could pick on me, that I was weak. And those people were totally wrong. I'm not going to wear that mask anymore. That's not who I am. That's not who I want to be anymore. So if you're watching this and you feel the same way, I encourage you, follow your heart, whatever that means for you. If it means speaking out, if it means chilling out, letting go of things that don't really matter. Maybe you're caught up in battles that aren't worth fighting, but maybe you're not engaged in enough battles. Maybe you're afraid to start a battle that is inevitable. Whether that battle is political, personal, interpersonal, just follow your heart. I think it's true that we shouldn't let our emotions rule us, but I think really the problem arises when we allow one particular emotion to rule us instead of allowing the others to have a say. And for me, I've allowed my fear to rule me, and I haven't allowed my anger to have a seat at the table. It's okay to be angry. Let's be angry for the right reasons. A lot of us are angry, and we have a goddamn good reason to be. So don't mute that. Don't domesticate yourself. Don't try to please others. Do what you know is right. And that's all I gotta say.